What's up, everybody? It's your guy Brandon Stubbs here. I know it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you with some podcast material. I don't know. But yes, it's been a while. It's been 4 months since my last video. A lot has changed. I have moved. This place sucks where I'm currently at, so I'll be moving again. Um, we finally have the fight that I never thought would happening. Got a promotion. A lot of other stuff has happened. But I'm back, and I promise I'm going to be doing more of these regular videos. Now that I'm more settled in to my new place, I'm still talking with my hands, but you can't see it where the mic's going, the mic and the camera. But yeah, still talk with my hands a lot. But I'm back, and what brought me back here, especially this week, was kind of two interesting um, fights over the weekend that I want to touch on. The return of Adrien Broner and the comeback or take back of Teofimo Lopez. Now, I'm going to start here with Adrien Broner because Adrien Broner is a cat of many lives. When we first were introduced to Adrien Broner in a mass market scene, he was signed with Golden Boy, fighting on HBO. He was the can man; anybody could get it. He was a very young man, capturing multiple titles in various divisions. No matter if those are full championships or not, that's up for debate. But whatever, he was moving up in divisions, winning fights, doing it in a very interesting and colorful fashion, and his persona outside the ring also was very colorful and high fashion, if you will. But those things eventually ended up catching up to him. We saw an Adrien Broner get in legal trouble. We saw him lose fights. We see him at times not taking the sport and opportunity he has in front of him as a professional fighter seriously. These things have all caught up with him over the course of the last few years, especially when you cuss out and talk bad about the hand that's literally feeding you, and Al Heyman and Steven Espinosa, their head of Showtime Sports. Things just went downhill for him from there. We had the Prime BLK that didn't go through after he had various different opponents drop out for various different reasons. He ended up leaving them and now inking a deal with Don King. So I'm sorry, if that was on your boxing bingo card of 2023, God bless you, because I definitely didn't see that one coming. But nevertheless, he had his first fight underneath Don King Promotions here this past Friday. Now, will it be the first of many? The first of one? Who the hell knows? He faced a guy who I'd never heard of, and honestly, I can't even remember his name now. I want to say, I think the last name was Hutchinson or something. He was an attorney, pro fighter as well. Kind of a weird second job being a pro fighter when you're an attorney, but hey, whatever. And Adrien Broner winning a unanimous decision there. Now, Adrien Broner didn't look great, but he also hadn't fought in a couple of years, so he's had some time off. Those delays, you're going to have ring rust. He also has a lot of demons he's been fighting with alcoholism and trying to stay sober to train and focus on a fight there. You can tell those things were probably playing somewhat of a factor, but, it was Adrien Broner being Adrien Broner. He won the fight and was very vulgar again in his post-fight interview. What happens with Adrien Broner here is up for debate. Now, earlier in the week, Oscar De La Hoya sent out a tweet wishing him best of luck and stating that if Don King was interested, maybe they can do business in regards to an Adrien Broner Ryan Garcia fight. Interesting, but Adrien Broner's in a very odd, sad, it's not the adjective I want to use here, bizarre situation here, because he signed with Don King. That in itself puts you behind the professional 8 ball. If you've ever listened to the podcast that I did, Punch the Face Radio, shameless plug, I had a guy who signed with Don King named Vons Monterosen. Vons got some money and then couldn't get a fight, then couldn't get out of his contract, and has not fought since and gotten in some other legal trouble. And yeah, just been a mess of a career since signing with Don King. But he was kind of in a very similar, not totally similar situation to Adrien Broner, where he had been with multiple promoters, burnt bridges, and this is where he was left at. This is kind of where Adrien Broner's left at. He's burnt bridges to where it's going to be difficult for him to get big fights, because who wants to work with Don King? If he gets those big fights, is he going to get actually paid properly? by Don King. So these are all different factors, and not to mention Adrien Broner is a shell of what he used to be and what we thought he was going to be. Let's face it, if he faces any of the top guys at 140, he's probably going to get smoked or lose very wide, lopsided decisions. He is a competitor. You never feel cheated when you see him in a fight for the most part. He does go out and does try, but his skill set seems to be limited. And I think that's something that people don't talk about enough, that we've seen this and we've seen probably the best out of him. He's plateaued. At this point of his career, he's going to be a B-side. Whether he's willing to accept that, whether he's willing to maybe kind of go on a slower road and take lesser names, to maybe build his profile up, to maybe cash out for another big payday fight, maybe a fight or two down the road. We'll see, but I was not impressed by what I saw from Adrien Broner here this past Friday, and it's going to be a long road to hoe for him going forward. Oh, I said hoe. Hopefully these algorithms here on YouTube don't throw this off. That's something else I've learned in my time away. The way algorithms work and what you can and can't say on video, and algorithms can hear that and catch that, and it's a dirty game, y'all. Dirty game. Let's talk about Teofimo Lopez here. Now, Teofimo Lopez, I think, shocked all of us for what we saw. None of us thought the version we saw of Teofimo Lopez in beating Josh Taylor was going to be the Teofimo Lopez version we were going to get, because in all honesty, he's a basket case. He's a nut job. He's crazy. We heard some of the rhetoric and some of the just flat out bizarre things he was saying during fight week and even leading up to the fight, threatening to take someone's life in the ring and want to take somebody's life in a ring, which is just crazy in itself to say, to think, to even after for mention. It was very odd on his part. Didn't like that at all. Him doing the interviews and his father butting in and jumping in and what have you. Just so the dynamic there just seems very odd. But when the bell rang Saturday night there in the Little Theater at Madison Square Garden, Teofimo Lopez showed out and showed up. I think I said that backwards. Probably did. Fuck it. But Teofimo Lopez looked great. Now, before I delve too far into Teofimo Lopez, let me give a quick thought on Josh Taylor. What we saw of Josh Taylor here was a guy who he's probably plateaued, and he probably plateaued a couple of fights back. Probably the Regis Prograis fight, maybe even the Ramirez fight. You can say he plateaued. The Catterall fight and him barely winning that, and a lot of us thinking he lost that, or the worst case scenario should have been a draw, was probably not just something that was, a fluke. He looked really, really bad against Teofimo Lopez, and you have to give credit to Teofimo Lopez for part of that, but you also have to keep it a buck and look at Josh Taylor and say, that guy, he's probably done at being at an elite championship top level. Whether he moves up to 147 and things get different from him, it's a chance. I mean, maybe the dropping of weight and trying to fight at 140 is taking a physical toll out of him. But to his credit, he's got, I think, 20-something career fights or close to it, or 19. He's got less than 25 professional fights. But a majority of these fights have been very grueling, very rough fights. And you can't discount that in a fighter's career when you have so many tough, rough, grueling fights, 12-rounder fights, that eventually starts taking out of you. And I think you're seeing that now with Josh Taylor. We saw that in the Catterall fight. We saw this here with Teofimo Lopez. These type of fights, these long, grueling fights, have just taken so much out of him. There's not a lot of tread left on that tire. So I wish him the best. He'll still fight again, but I just don't see him being championship level again anytime soon. Now, to Teofimo Lopez's credit, Teofimo Lopez fought a fantastic fight. He won on the cards, 115, 113 twice, and then 117, 111. I felt more than 117, 111. I thought it was very wide margin. I thought he boxed completely well. He was in control. He was in a rhythm a vast majority of the fight. Didn't get rattled, didn't seem frustrated at all by anything Josh Taylor was doing, which was really not much to frustrate Teofimo Lopez. So he is now the WBO 140-pound champion and also the Ring Magazine champion. Whatever. What's next for Teofimo Lopez is going to be interesting. He said after the fight he's retiring, boxing politics, yada yada, going through a divorce, custody battle, yeah, all this other stuff. So I don't think he's really going to retire. Now, I do think Teofimo Lopez is going to take some time away. I think he's going to have to, dealing with a divorce, dealing with custody. I think that's going to mentally take a lot out of him. And if he's mentally not there physically, he's not going to be able to be there to train. Now, some people will say on the same note that maybe training can help distract him, help clear his head, get him away from all the rigors of going through the divorce and the custody battle. That's it could work both ways, but I just don't see him fighting anytime remotely soon. Do I think he's retired? No, I don't think he's by any stretch of the imagination retiring. He's going to come back. No, he is not done with his top rank deal, despite what he had said during promotion of this fight. He's not done with top rank, and if he attempts to, it's going to cost him a lot of money. And if he thinks he's losing money in a divorce, top rank will drain him dry. So let me just make that part very clear that he's not done with his contract there. But there's going to be a lot of options for him when he is ready to fight. Tell him a little bit rusty at this. I'm kind of with my words, but I'm doing this on one take, folks, because I don't really feel like doing it twice. But as far as Teofimo Lopez is going, his options, there's a lot. There's a lot of really good options. There's options like Devin Haney, which would probably be the biggest you can make. With Devin Haney moving up from 135, I don't see him sticking around there. So 140 makes sense for him. That's a fight that makes a ton of sense. You can put it on pay-per-view for top rank. I think it sells and does a great job. So you have that as an option. You also have Jose Ramirez, who was there fight night, was looking, to possibly face the winner. He didn't seem all that eager or all that excited. Teofimo Lopez won. I think he was wanting more of a rematch and running it back with Josh Taylor, which is not going to occur now. I mean, it still could occur, but just won't occur for any belts. There's also Arnold Barboza, who's there, who's had opportunities or wanted opportunities to fight for some of these guys, and just for reasons that I can't totally explain, haven't occurred. So that's an option. Not to mention you have the other champions. Rolly Romero is out there, probably the biggest dog, and maybe the guy that you may look at as being now the number one guy at 140, Regis Prograis is there. So that also brings me to this last point before I wrap this up is there's talk of who is the number one guy at 140. Does this win automatically make Teofimo Lopez number one at 140? It makes him undisputed, or as they were trying to say on television last night, absolutely not. It does not make him undisputed champion. Now, mind you, Josh Taylor had all the belts. He ended up releasing them for various different reasons as he was trying to do the rematch for Catterall, and just one by one the belts ended up dropping for various sanctioning purposes from those sanctioning bodies. I'm not making those defenses, sanctioning fees, all this other nonsense. So he ended up losing the other three belts that he had. Rolly has one. Matisse, I think that's how you enunciate, has one. And Regis Prograis has one. Now, Teofimo has the other. And the he has the WBO in the ring. So Regis Prograis is the guy I look at as being number one. Out of all the guys who are current champions, Regis was a champion before at 140. I think he's maybe the most complete fighter out of all of them. But I also wonder sometimes and worry sometimes if he can continue to make 140 healthy and actually make weight for these fights. But there is a lot of dispute who is number one now. Just because Teofimo beat the guy who was the guy doesn't mean he is now the guy. It's now in dispute because Regis fought a tough fight against the guy. Granted, he lost, but he fought him a tough fight. The other two champions have not faced anyone for those. They won those belts respectively in vacated circumstances. So there is dispute who's number one at 140. And as a voter here for the Transnational Boxing Ranking Board, I will tell you I will make that clear in my voting, but that's neither here nor there. So there is disputed 140. We'll see how that works out. But congratulations to Teofimo Lopez. For him, I hope he keeps his life together. Hopefully we can see more of this version of Teofimo Lopez in fights going forward. And yeah, so there we go. So that wraps this up. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Let's see, I've ran here almost 15 minutes. I'm looking at the timer here. If If you haven't hit the like button, please do if you survived that long. Also, subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm going to kind of come back slowly back into media. Whether I be doing a podcast again full time, probably not. I'm enjoying my vacation and sabbatical from that world way too much, but I definitely want to share my thoughts with you, the boxing fans, here on the YouTube page. So hit the like button, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, leave feedback, and I will be back here again here in a couple of weeks or so, talking more boxing with you. So everyone take care and enjoy the fights.